Breaking. Nigel Farage just delivered the most explosive parliamentary speech in decades, and what he revealed about UK immigration policy has the government scrambling. Cabinet ministers walked out, the opposition erupted, and the fallout could reshape British politics forever. Here's what actually happened inside that chamber. 3 hours ago, Nigel Farage stood in Parliament with documents he claimed would expose fundamental failures in the UK's deportation system. His opening statement was direct and devastating. Evidence suggesting that deportation flights have been repeatedly delayed or cancelled despite government promises to reduce illegal immigration. If you want to understand what's really happening in British politics right now, hit that subscribe button, because this story gets more complex by the hour. The chamber went silent when Farage referenced Home Office data showing significant gaps between announced deportation targets and actual removals. While the government pledged to increase deportations of failed asylum seekers, internal figures suggest systematic delays across multiple flights planned for late 2024. Farage specifically cited 3 cancelled flights that were scheduled to remove 347 individuals who had exhausted legal appeals. The estimated cost of preparation and cancellation, over £4 million in taxpayer money. These weren't last-minute legal injunctions. According to parliamentary documentation, these were administrative decisions made at ministerial level. The political impact was immediate and visceral. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner was seen in heated discussion with Home Secretary Yvette Cooper. Rachel Reeves appeared visibly uncomfortable. Several backbench Labour MPs left the chamber during the most contentious moments, a rare sight that underscores the internal pressure the government now faces. But Farage went further. He presented what he described as communications showing concern within government circles about public reaction to deportation figures ahead of local elections. While the exact nature of these communications remains disputed, the allegation is serious, that electoral calculations influenced operational immigration decisions. Prime Minister Keir Starmer attempted a rebuttal, but his response was fragmented and defensive. He challenged Farage's interpretation of the documents without directly addressing the core allegation, that political considerations overrode policy commitments. That gap in his response has become the story. Now here's where this gets deeply uncomfortable for the government. Farage pivoted to a comparison that's resonating across social media. British military veterans experiencing homelessness while asylum seekers receive hotel accommodation. The numbers are stark and verified. According to recent Salvation Army data, approximately 3,400 UK veterans are currently homeless. Meanwhile, government contracts confirm that roughly 400 hotels across Britain are being used to house asylum seekers at an estimated cost of £8 million per day. Nearly £3 billion annually. The contrast Farage drew was brutal but factual. James Morrison, a decorated veteran who lost his leg serving in Afghanistan, was recently photographed sleeping rough in Birmingham. His monthly disability support is £823. At the same time, asylum seekers in government-contracted hotels receive full accommodation, meals, and support services valued at over £2,000 per month per person. This isn't about demonising asylum seekers. It's about asking why a country that sends soldiers to war can't house them when they return. Dorothy Matthews, an 82-year-old pensioner from Blackpool, died last winter in her unheated home. Coroner reports confirmed hypothermia as a contributing factor. She was receiving the state pension but couldn't afford rising energy costs. The same week, government spending reports showed £2.3 million allocated to upgrading facilities at an asylum processing centre. The optics are devastating, and Farage knew exactly how to weaponise them. Then came the moment that's now trending across every political platform. At 3:02 Pagi, Farage referenced what he claimed was recorded evidence of internal government discussions about managing migration narratives ahead of May elections. While the legality and authenticity of such recordings remain under intense scrutiny, the mere allegation sent shockwaves through Westminster. Speaker Lindsay Hoyle attempted to intervene, citing parliamentary protocol about unauthorised recordings. But the damage was done. The clip, or reports of it, spread instantly. Within minutes, political Twitter erupted. Within an hour, major news outlets were running emergency coverage. Farage's final claim was his most incendiary, that he possessed evidence suggesting coordination to minimise media coverage of asylum seeker arrivals. He announced his intention to provide materials to the Metropolitan Police for investigation. Whether this constitutes evidence of wrongdoing or political theatre remains to be determined. But perception matters in politics. And the perception right now is of a government caught off guard and scrambling for response. The economic reaction was swift. Sterling dropped 0.8% against the dollar within an hour of Farage's speech, a significant move driven by political uncertainty. The FTSE 250 fell 1.4%. Financial analysts noted that political instability is now factoring into UK investment risk assessments. Behind closed doors, the Labour Party is facing internal reckoning. According to multiple Westminster sources, at least 12 Labour MPs have expressed serious concerns about the government's immigration messaging in private WhatsApp groups. 3 MPs publicly called for greater transparency. The North West Labour Caucus, representing constituencies that flipped from Conservative in the last election, reportedly held an emergency call. These are the MPs most vulnerable to Reform UK's rising popularity, and they're terrified of being associated with policies their voters despise. Meanwhile, Reform UK is experiencing unprecedented momentum. Their party website reported server crashes from the volume of new membership applications. Farage himself appeared across major broadcast networks, projecting calm authority, while Labour ministers declined interview requests. The polling data tells the story Reform UK once told. Recent surveys show them surging to 28% nationally, with Labour dropping to 26%, a statistical tie within margin of error. In former Labour strongholds across the Midlands and North, Reform UK is now the primary challenger. This represents a fundamental realignment in British politics. The traditional two-party system is fracturing in real time, and Farage is positioned as the primary beneficiary. Constitutional experts are now discussing scenarios that seemed impossible 6 months ago. If Labour backbenchers rebel in sufficient numbers on an upcoming confidence vote, the government could theoretically fall. While this remains unlikely, the fact that political scientists are gaming out such scenarios indicates how destabilised Westminster has become. Professor Robert Hazel of University College London noted that minority governments in parliamentary systems can collapse rapidly once backbench confidence erodes. The question isn't whether Labour MPs will rebel, some already have on other issues, but whether enough will do so simultaneously to trigger a crisis. King Charles, in his constitutional role, would face unprecedented decisions if government stability continues deteriorating. While royal intervention in political matters is vanishingly rare in modern Britain, the monarch does retain certain reserve powers in extreme circumstances. Here's what happens next. Parliament reconvenes tomorrow with immigration policy now dominating the agenda. Labour must decide whether to double down on their current approach or shift strategy to stem the political bleeding. Either choice carries enormous risk. The Conservative Party, meanwhile, is watching with barely concealed glee. Despite their own struggles, they see Labour's immigration crisis as potential salvation for their electoral prospects. And Farage, he's already scheduled appearances on every major news programme. He's framing this as a defining moment, the point where ordinary British citizens finally said enough to a political establishment that ignored their concerns for decades. Whether you agree with Farage's politics or not, his parliamentary performance was masterful political theatre. He identified the most emotionally potent contrasts: veterans versus migrants, pensioners versus asylum seekers, and hammered them relentlessly. He timed his revelations for maximum dramatic impact, and he left the government with no good options for response. The next 72 hours will determine whether this moment becomes a historical footnote or the catalyst for government collapse. Watch for these indicators. How many Labour MPs break ranks publicly? Whether any cabinet ministers resign? What polling data emerges from key constituencies? And most critically, whether Farage's alleged evidence materialises or evaporates under scrutiny. This is British politics at its most volatile. Governments that appear invincible can unravel with stunning speed when backbench confidence disappears. Ask Thatcher. Ask Blair after Iraq. Ask any Prime Minister who lost the confidence of their own MPs. Starmer's challenge now is existential. Restore party unity. Address the immigration concerns that are killing Labour in working-class constituencies and somehow neutralise Farage's momentum. All while governing a country facing economic headwinds and geopolitical uncertainty. So here's the question that matters. Is this the beginning of the end for Labour's government, or can Starmer navigate through the storm? Does Reform UK represent a genuine electoral threat, or will they fade as populist movements often do? What's your take? Do you think Farage's evidence claims will hold up, or is this political theatre? Should immigration policy prioritise deportations or humanitarian concerns? How would you balance veteran support with asylum obligations? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We read every single one and feature the most insightful in our community roundups. If this analysis gave you clarity on a complex situation, share it with anyone trying to understand what's really happening in Westminster right now. And if you want unbiased, fact-based breakdowns of political events without the spin, hit that subscribe button. Tomorrow's parliamentary session could define British politics for years. This is how democracies shift, not through revolution, but through moments like this, when political theatre meets genuine public frustration and the ground moves beneath everyone's feet.